Alright, looks like we're gonna get started. I was able to start the stream a little bit earlier than what I originally intended, but that's great. I'm gonna get started with some painting. Um, so this is the model I am painting at the moment. It's not the full model, it's missing the head. Not the head, but the bone um skull of the deer's skull, I guess. That's supposed to be sitting on top there. You can see in the top corner of the screen there of what it's supposed to look like. I'll be adding those bits later once I finish the rest of this body off first. So I've got a bit more of the skin to do. I've got these arms up here to try and paint. And then I've also got to tone down all of these arms here because they're a little bit too bright. The idea is that it is going to be lighter up further here. But yeah. Why is I don't know why my camera is not actually filming. What's wrong with my back cam? Huh. Weird. I don't know why. Hopefully that's sorted it. Hopefully that's a bit better. Hey. Yay. That seems to be working. There we go. It's not my back anymore. Phone had disconnected from the charger and decided to tell me that it was low on battery. But it's also trying to do some invisible stuff, I think. But I think I've got the green screen setting on it and I haven't properly disabled it. Right. Gotta get rid of this. My watch is in the way, and I'm gonna have a quick drinky old whiskey before I get started. Cheers, cheers. Oh, that's tart. Thank you for catching that on the camera thing there. Thank you, John. All right, so yeah, I gotta tone down these highlights here. They're a little bit too much. For the rest of the body. It is supposed to be lighter there because it's supposed to draw your eye up, but I've gone a bit too far with it. That was the first thing I started with, so I was kind of testing. So let's try and tone this down. So I'm going to try and glaze it a little bit down to the colors that we want. So I'm going to start off light and see if then we can work our way down there. I've been using my old Winsor Newton brush, which I tried to basically fix by giving it a good old soaping. And I find the bellies on these brushes to be really, really deep. And it works really well for painting these models because it allows you to keep a lot of thin paint and you can just keep going with it. And it's fairly even across. So I'm actually kind of coming back to using this brush more and more over my red grass brush. Do you want me to... I can zoom in a little bit actually on this, so you'll probably be able to see it. Hold on. How's that then? That should be a bit better. Okay, so yeah, we're starting to tone that one down a little bit. So let's just keep going with that. So we're still keeping those highlights in place. We're just hopefully knocking them out a little bit. And that way, they're not going to be quite so profound. At the moment, they're a little bit too much, and they're not blended into the surrounding muscle. I'm going to keep some of that brightness there, but to be honest, not a lot of it. Just want to make sure you don't delete it completely. So it's hard to tell when you first put the the brush over it, because it's going to be a little bit lighter at first, and then when it dries it's going to get darker again, which I found a lot with painting this model. But already this one you can see is blended a little bit better than this side. This side is still very blotchy. This side is starting to blend. So just glazing your midtones between those extremes really helps to knock out some of the stark differences, the stark changes. But yeah, this is one of those rare occasions where I'm actually wearing a glove to try and protect the model from any wear. Maybe a bit too much there. Let's go the other side. Can always bring it back up again, tweak it back and forth until we get the right levels. And to be honest, the more like very, very small tweaking we do, the better the blend is going to become, I'm hoping. This model's been a real blast to start painting. Let me just knock that back down again. Those are starting to fall into a better parameter there. Just let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet. I can always adapt that, and also the same with the microphone. If it's too loud or too quiet, just let me know in the chat and I'll happily change some of those settings. So you can see at the top left corner, this is a picture of the actual artwork that this model is based off of, and I made some swatches of the main colors that I could find within the picture, because this is a kind of a commission job, and I'm not really doing it. I'm not doing it for money as such, but I am going to be getting basically trading in art. They're going to help me redesign my logo, perhaps, and also get me some 3D prints, which would be nice. So it's kind of a pseudo commission, but the client, as it were, wants it as close to the artwork as possible. So I'm trying my best to try and hit the same kind of feeling and color tones. Mine is actually a little bit paler than the actual picture, the actual original artwork. I've gone a little bit more into that purpley pale. The face I quite like. I'm not going to change that too much. I think I've toned down these arms a little bit, which is good. I'm going to leave them for a bit. Let's just get these arms that are coming up the side here. So I start off with my mid-tone. Which is this kind of weird purpley grey. Get that in there now. There we go. All right. I may have to put some more of the paint on my palette. It's been a little while. I've been painting a little bit all day today. So this is starting to need a top up. I've just been working on the skin. If I can get the skin more or less right, then I'm going to move on to the hair. That's where we should start to see some color coming in, because we're going to be using a little bit of the turquoise as well in there. There we go. I've never had to paint kind of a human body, like the actual kind of a naked human body, almost naked human body. It's been a challenging experience just to try and place all the lighting in the right areas. It's quite difficult, but it's been fun. Right, so next we go and do the next area, which is a highlight. So we're going to be mixing in my highlight color and mix it with the mid-tone and get somewhere in between. So it's this kind of lightish gray. Get it a bit wet so that it should be fairly transparent when we apply it. To be honest, actually, it's probably a bit too wet now. It's been on my wet palette for a while. And these red grass wet palettes, when you cover them, they tend to evaporate onto the surface of your wet palette. The seal is a bit too good. Now, a lot of what I've been doing with this is stippling. But I think, yeah, we're a bit too wet. But that can be good with this larger brush, because we end up applying it. When it dries, it's gonna lose a lot of its vibrancy. You're gonna find that the tones, what is it? They go down a scale or two, and the transparency as well will really come through. And then you just kind of layer it up a little bit until it's a little bit more opaque. Getting some fairly appropriate music for this kind of a model. Quiet as I just concentrate on these bits here. Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of tone down these bits, but also keep some highlights present throughout. Again, a lot of stippling in this for this model. I'm just almost tapping out dots, very wet dots, which as I build up the layers, it starts to blend fairly well. It's a technique that seems to be working for me on this model in particular. It's not what I usually do. I usually do strokes that I blend together, but felt this would work a little bit better. The size of it allows me to try out some new techniques and things, or different techniques anyway, not new techniques, but techniques I'm perhaps not using as much. Yeah, you just kind of stipple it a little bit, and then when it dries, it seems to get into a fairly decent effect on the model. Let's see how we're going with that. Ooh, it's pretty dark. Now, I've also been making a base for this. I'm trying to get it, again, as close to the artwork as possible. So I've created this base here is my plinth. So just cut off a piece of the wood and layered on some of the mud texture all around. Dried it off with hairdryer because I was impatient. And then I kind of just spray painted it all black, and then I did a mix of my inks to get this kind of muddy mauve purple. I was trying to go for the reddy brown, but it kind of came out like this. Initially it looked reddy brown, but I think when it dried it just came a bit more purple. But that's okay. It's got a nice effect that really kind of ties the model together. Sprayed in a little bit of ivory at the top by mixing in some of the white and the burnt umber inks that I got, and created that glow from the top there, which complements how I'm painting this character a bit, I believe. If I can get you in your spot, there you go. Which complements this character a little bit as well, because the way I'm doing the lighting on the top of the model, it hopefully is drawing your eye up, and also the background as well is also helping draw your eye up through the model, whilst also she's being the main thing highlighted at the moment. With lighter colours than the back. However, I do want to go over a little bit of dry brushing with some kind of a brown ruddy red, and then also what else do I want to do? That's kind of the main thing I want to do for the plinth. Hopefully that will be enough for it to be done. But then I've then just got to make sure this model looks as good as possible when I've done it. So maybe talking a bit of verbal diarrhea at the moment because I've been at home alone doing this all day and not talking to anyone. So you're going to get my my weird ramblings. All right. They're nice and dry, and you can always see how what initially started out, you could see all the little spots and things. Now that it's dried, though, they've cleared up and they've actually created a fairly smooth layer there. So let's go a little bit lighter, just a touch. So we're going to mix a bit more of the highlight in with that mid-tone mix that I got there. And that's just going to make it a little bit lighter. I'm going to put in a little touch of water into there. I want to make it nice and thin and liquidy. I can just, again, build up those layers. Sent a picture of the work in progress to the owner of the model. They seemed pretty happy with its progress so far. So, happily knowing that I'm on the right direction, I'm trying to just continue with how I'm going with her. Okay. Oh yeah, it's those arms are tying in more with the model, which is pretty good. Come back over to this. Put that next layer down. And on the other side. The next bit's the fun bit, where we get to put in some of the shades, the shadows. So for that, I'm going to use my red grass because it's a little bit more accurate in terms of pinpointing, but it also leaves more of a definite stroke, which is quite good when I'm trying to hit just a recess. So for that, I'm going to be taking my shadows, which is this kind of almost pinky purple. And I'm going to mix that in with a little bit of my mid-tone. So we get a bit of an in-between. Yeah, I'm going to need some more of my mid-tone on my palette, I think. That'll keep me going for a minute. The bit that really helps it pop, because it's quite a vibrant shadow. It helps contrast quite nicely. I think I overdid it a little bit on that one, but again, this is something that we can always work back and forth. So little errors like that aren't a big problem. Getting some of the hair at the moment, which is fine, so I would go over that later. What I want to do is trying to find the shadow correctly. Now let's try and blend those bits together a little bit better. So at the moment, we have a stark jump from that shadow to the lighter colors. So we will need to blend that down as it goes down into the muscle there, just to give it a bit of a better blend. So let's get our mid-tone. Brush isn't wet enough and I don't have enough on there. So mid-tone is this one, Frozen Flesh. I'm using the Nocturna series of paints as I talk through my brush. And specifically the Malefic Skin set. So I'm using a range from there. And at the moment I've only been using 4 paints. So in all of this there's been 4 paints used. So from those 4 I'm getting all these tones. So it kind of ties everything together because everything's using very similar tones. It makes sure that we are keeping it fairly uniform at the moment. I'm not putting too much on. This one I did do too much. Oh, I missed. Yeah, I kind of fudged this one a bit. So I have to reapply the highlights. That's no problem. Okay. Alright, that's getting me roughly where I want to be. I think what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and have a go at doing some of this hair. The hair itself is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try and hit that scar that she's got across her stomach. Looks like she's had maybe a cesarean section or something like that. Not quite sure what this piece of art is trying to say, if it is trying to say anything. But it's fairly freaky. Actually, you know what? I'm probably actually going to leave it as it is at the moment. It looks pretty good. Right. Yeah, now the hair is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. I have to figure that out because there's going to be 2 tones of hair in there. She's kind of got this slightly orangey hair in there along with this turquoise hair, but we don't want to go too strong with it. It's still fairly muted colors in terms of how they're painted into the picture and how I would want to do it on this as well. I'll still give a little bit more contrast to the character and everything, but you know what we're going to try and do is I'm going to try and dry brush the base here at the plinth with the reddish colors. So what I'm going to use is I've actually got some on my wet palette here. It's probably too dry at the moment, too wet at the moment to really do as a proper dry brush, but we'll give it a go. Okay. So I want to get a bit of this. That's going to be too... to be honest, I want it a little bit orangey. There we go. That's it. Don't know if you can see, but I'm just kind of working out a dry brush color that I want. This one has a little bit of that on there. I'm just going to try it out on my arm a little bit. I'm going to try just... There we go, there we go, there we go. That's it. Just dry brush little bits of it across there. Just to give this base a little bit more in the way of color and texture, and it's a similar color to what's at the base of the background of the picture at the top there. There we go. Now I've got to do the same for her base as well. Try and blend it in. There's some areas of it where I accidentally mooshed the soil that I made, and I have to repaint some of that area there just to cover it up. But if we can get a general idea of how this is going to look, hopefully it will look all right. Just going to find the hole. There we go. Okay. I want it to be removable so that the client can choose how they want to display it and also how to view it. But yeah, that need a bit more blending to kind of blend into the surrounding area, but generally quite like that. Still, it tones down a little bit, so it'd be nice to maybe go in a little bit lighter as well. So let's get a little bit of you, a little bit of you, mix you all up. This might be too much, but let's give it a go. We've got some strong orange there. Make sure it's as dry, and we just want a little bit. Just, there we go. There we go, and then we got a bit of a gradient going up through the whole thing. You know, that's kind of nice, and it's the color is a little bit of a contrast to her cool colors. This has got some of the warmer colors in there, but not overpowering. It's just hopefully delicate. But yeah, that's how it's looking at the moment. Pretty happy with that. Now I've got to work out how I'm going to do the hair. So I'm actually watching the stream at the moment, so I'm going to be coming out of that at the moment. So if you send me a message or anything, I'm probably going to miss it in the next little bit, because what I need to do is I need to be looking at that big picture that's up in the corner there, but I want it nice and big on my iPad in front of me here. So I'm just going to pop that up for a second and have a look. Okay. So my feeling with this one is I start with the orange hair, and then I start doing the turquoise hair, because I can pick out the areas that I want to have the turquoise. The oranges and things are a little bit more, a little bit closer to the skin tones and things like that. So let's go with that. Now I'm going to need that kind of a reddish brown type of thing. So I'm actually going to be using a little bit of our shade color, the purple shadow. But I'm going to be mixing that with a little bit of our oranges. And we're going to see if we can make that kind of a reddish, reddy browny orange. So I'm just going to have a fiddle around on the wet palette a little bit. See if we can't just produce some interesting colors. So I've got a little bit of the orange there. Let's get a little bit of that purple shadow. And what we're going to need is we need that range. I feel like we might be able to use the purple shadow as the base colors, possibly. Let's just have a fiddle here. I'm a bit worried that... Oh, okay. I'm liking that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of the purple again just to give this a kind of almost a base color approach that I'm going to go for. This way also this color gets tied in to the hair that's also in the skin. Hopefully then you kind of got some native colors going on. So right now this is fairly thin. I put a lot of water in there. So right now it's literally just seeping into everything. It's almost like a wash. I've got to be careful with this. Right. Let's go to the back, because the back is a fairly safe area to paint right now. So we're just going to go over the whole thing for the time being. And then we're going to start going over and actually picking out lots of details. So I think what we do is we paint it pretty much this color first, and then I'm just going to repaint all the bits I want to do a turquoise. It's just a touch more purple. Whereas when one thing goes right for me, so in terms of this one, it's the skin. I can feel fairly confident in that part. But then as soon as I try something new, that especially involves me experimenting with mixing up lots of colors, I start to get a little bit worried. is a thing I am going to be figuring out as I go along. Probably a good idea is to kind of stop for a bit and just work on one area, get that right, and then apply it to the rest, rather than continue on the way I am. Though I do quite like that colour. It does kind of pop the whole character a bit more. Okay, so how about we work on this bit here. Play around with how we're mixing these. And figure out how it is this should look. Let's just get this bit right. Okay, so the main thing I'm going to be playing around with is just keep mixing this orange and this purple first. Go a little bit lighter. Let's see if we can't find the areas that we're going to slightly incrementally make a little lighter. So there's no, I don't think there's any point in going crazy at trying to do every strand individually. We can just kind of hit certain volume areas with different different intensities of the colors, so it's almost catching light. Would possibly be the idea. Now I've got a paler light orange. I want to try this one as well with the purple. Mix that one in there. Now, hopefully what we can also do is we can tone it down in some areas with the purple. But I'm trying to avoid using any white or black for lightening and darkening, and just actually using colors to do so. So far it's been making for an interesting effect, and I think I've been lucky with some of the effects that have been coming from this. I quite like that. The kind of the purple of the skin and the orange is kind of nice, and the fact that the purple that's in the hair is what ties it all together without it seeming out of place. At least that's what I think is happening. Either that, or it apparently might look awful to you. But I'm really liking how this is looking. This is kind of nice. Right, now to try and have a go with the I just realised I've been blocking a lot of the shot with the picture at the top there. Might move that down to the bottom right. Whee! Let's do it the top right. There we go. And you can still see my wet palette a bit. That should be a bit better. That way when I'm over here painting, you can still see what I'm doing. Right, let's have a go at the turquoise. Right. Now I'm going to use a purple again with this turquoise to again tie it all together. I'm going to just see how it combines together. This is a bit I'm really worried about. It's quite deep turquoise there. Okay. I need some more of that purple. So I might get out my finer brush just to pick out individual strands. And try it that way. Okay. So far so good. Okay. So far so dark blue. Let's have one more. Make it you. Be careful. Okay. Right, next what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to use my red grass because it's going to be a bit more accurate with this. I'm going to go a little bit lighter with the turquoise. Mix that into our little mix that we got going on there. And we're going to try and see if we can start highlighting this. Okay. It's fairly intense color now. Okay. I'm gonna just try the pure turquoise. And then I'm gonna actually use some of the skin tone to make it light. Just realised after all doing all of this, I haven't actually been recording for my actual video that I'm making. I'm gonna have to use some of the footage from this stream. At least I have that. Okay. Blue's pretty poppy. Turquoise. So, what happens if I mix it with some of our lighter flesh tone here? Some of you. Pretty bright turquoise. Let's just try. We can always tone it back down again. I think we're gonna be okay. I quite like it, to be honest. Okay, I think that's how we're gonna be doing the hair. So, let's get the rest of the hair there. Oops, a bit too much of the orange there. You're in there. these kind of bits which are really scary, because you might muck up work you've already done. I'm trying to get all the hair covered, so then we can start working on building up the volumes of color. And then once that's all done, adding in the turquoise strands of hair as well. They're kind of interwoven. There's a lot of hair in this model. I'm quite jealous. pull this outside hair down first before I do that bit that's kind of on the inside of her under the arm. I'm just afraid of painting. Let's save that one till last. Let's get everything else here done first. Areas of the skin I can see that I need to fix. Hey, hello Underdog Painting. All is well. Just focusing on this thing really hard. All right. Guess I gotta now this inside area with by the cheek and under the arm here. I'm gonna try and get this right. My paint's starting to flow into itself. This one is a what's the guy's name? There's an artist who did the picture up in the top right corner there. His name is, I think, Chris Lavelle. And he does all this kind of like weird art. And there was a Kickstarter that had a bunch of his artwork made into kind of this scale of miniatures and resin miniatures. And one of my co-workers had ordered it an age ago, and it finally came. And she was saying that her and her boyfriend were a bit too afraid to try and paint it, so they asked if I would do it, and I was like, oh, I'd be happy to. So that's why I got this one. It's pretty crazy. I gotta still attach the deer's head, or I guess it's a deer's head, a deer's skull onto the top. I haven't started painting that bit yet. I wanted to get all of this main body painted first, then I can attach everything and start painting all of that. Make sure all of the tonal qualities are the same. Also been making a plinth for it as well, which is this. And it's been coming along quite nicely as well. So yeah, this isn't something I usually do. I usually just stick to miniatures. I've done 2 busts, and this is the first time doing kind of, I guess it's 75mm scale. Thank you. It's strangely liberating doing a model like this, because I'm normally doing like my infinity stuff, which is fairly small in comparison, and focused a lot on these models all the time. To get something this large, at first when I put it together and first looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's not as big as I thought it was. But then, actually, when it's actually sitting in front of you next to your other models, you're like, oh no, this is actually a giant model compared to what I'm used to doing. And it's very liberating to be able to go in and just try and build up the blends in different areas of the body. And to be honest, painting young female forms is very intimidating because everything is so smooth. Usually if you have like an old grizzly guy, there's all the details are in the sculpt and you can kind of get away with some easy painting techniques to make it look really nice. This is a lot more intimidating. But it's coming along. What are you up to? What have you been painting lately? Or what's your latest project at the moment? Going into concentration mode. I really don't want to muck up my skin tones that I've already finished. Or not finished, but certainly I've already done some of. Right, I think I've got the coverage of the hair finished. Next is to build in the highlights and the shadows of this orange hair. So, let's have a go at that. There. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mix in a little bit of the orange into what we've already got there. This will make our first highlight. So, I'm just going to run it down these areas that are catching the light the most. We're not going to be... I'm going to do this in a very simple way, almost dry brushing, but not quite dry. And we're just going to blend in the different highlights and shadows a little bit as we go. A little bit catchy on the bottom, and at the top. Let's try and get this bit down first. Mix in a little bit more. Right, I'm going to mix in a little bit of the light orange into there. Let that blend a little bit. Okay, I'm also going to try and get a little bit more of the purple in there. I'm going to hit down the bottom here where it's bending back in, so we get again another tonal shift, but in the other direction. And you can kind of hopefully see a little bit of a blend across there. And then it's really rough, to be honest. It's a very, very quick thing I'm doing, but it'll generally get across the theme of the orange there. The bit that's going to make it look hopefully good is once we start weaving in all of the turquoise, and then hopefully it will look a lot better. So let's just get all these other areas as well. I want a bit more of that purple in there. Get into the shadow. Mm. Let's just fix that right now. Oh, I done gone and fudged it up. I'll hide it a little bit. I have to come back and fix that. All right, making some good progress at the moment. Let's get some more of those tones in there. So, again, what we want is a little bit of that purple. Certainly in the back there. Inside a little bit. Get this hair here. This hair is needing a bit of work. I feel like I'm just kind of going back and forth now on the same things, not actually making any difference. Okay, so I think generally the orange of the hair is about done. I could probably do a few other passes over it, but to be honest, it's not going to make much of a difference once we start putting in this blue. Hopefully we're going to get more of this nice effect here where you got that strong contrast. So that's what we're going to have to aim for doing. Oh. yeah, I think that's what we're going to go for. So let's switch brushes. This one's a little bit more accurate for doing the single strands, I think. So, which bit do we want to do next? So I'm going to work out if any of the strands, there, but this one. So, first, I'm going to mix it in with the purple. Get an initial color, which is this darkish blue. I feel like that one is going down here. Another one coming down there. I think it's this one. There we go. I'll make some more. So let's just, right, we've done that side there in terms of blocking them out. So let's go on the inside and see which ones we can add. Okay, let's now work on knocking these up in value. So just go with the regular turquoise first. And then we go up to the final one, where we mix that and a bit of that lighter skin tone in as well. And then we've got that there. Okay. Now, what time am I on? Oh, it's 11:50, so I'll go for 10 more minutes. We'll see how much of this hair we can do. It looks like it's just a sit down and get on with it job, to be honest. So, tomorrow when I continue with this, I'll do so without having to stream. I'll just sit down, maybe stick on some Star Trek and get on with it. Hmm. Right, go with just the turquoise. Alright, I think that's going to call it for me tonight. I think I made some pretty decent progress on this model. I'll take a progress shot of this and that'll go up on my Instagram. You can check that out at Zombie Sashimi. And yeah, that's going to be it for tonight. So thank you for joining me if you've been in the chat there and everything. Always super to have people involved. And yeah, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. And I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.